I can help you. But I need to show you something first.
I remember when the first one came out, all of my friends were like crazy about it and scaring each other, calling each other on the phone, just being kids.
I didn't sleep after I saw the first ring. You're brushing your teeth and all of a sudden, you don't want to look in the mirror to see what's behind you.
Samara being a little girl, that really freaked me out. And the well, just like the imagery of her coming out of that well and through the TV. There's something really horrifying, I think, for audiences about the idea of something coming through the television.
The actors' reactions was really where the scares came from. The fear really came out of relating to the characters.
I'm sorry. It won't stop.
Kind of gives you this, like, butterfly feeling and kind of these, like, the tingles that you have on your arms. And you can't explain it, but it's a different feeling to what you're used to experiencing.
The wonderful thing about that first tape of images, it was that constant driving stream of conscious, disturbed set of images that just stay with you. And years later, you see a little chair by itself, or you see a ladder, and you just go, oh, it's still there, and it still haunts you, and it's still disturbing, and it's still just on the edge of your comfort. You don't even know why you're scared. You just know that you can't forget it, and that you don't want to be alone or turn off the lights.
Hey, Marker.
This installment of The Rings is sort of just updated for, you know, newer technology in the way, you know, you and I share content.
Rick Baker designed and created the first Samara makeup. And in the story, the flea market vendor who gives the VHS to the next character is played by Rick Baker. And he is literally handing off the story to a new generation.
She's coming. There's no stopping her.
Once they digitized the tape, Samara could be anywhere. The tape could be in your junk folder. It could be in your email. It could be on a flash drive on a shelf.
That makes the story that much more interesting and complicated and layered, and I thought was also an interesting kind of allegorical comment on social media now and the dangers of that.
People use iPhones and iPads and computers, and there's a social network that helps you find a tale. So they use Instagram, they use Twitter, there's hashtags.
As we know every day when we all open our email, you never know what you're getting. This curse can easily go viral.
I've got a tale for you. It's not for me anymore.
A tale is someone who watches the tape, and once you've had enough, this tale, watching the tape, means that your hallucinations stop, and Samara can't come and kill you on the 7th day. So a tale saves your life.
When you watch this tape, it's kind of like a cool thing because the first 2-3 days of the trip, it's like being on drugs. So that's why all the kids want to be in this club and they want to watch this tape. And then by the 4th, 5th day is kind of like you want to find a tale because you're freaking out so much that you can't handle it anymore. And the whole thing is about how many days you can handle it.
7-10. I win, bitch.
I think it keeps in line with the spirit of the two other films, the early ones, in a sense of that Samara is the same, the way she attacks people is the same. I think the fans want to see that. I think the fans want to see her and at least a few, you know, victims. So, and it definitely has the same cold feel to it. I think Sharon Mayer is amazing in that, give that cold, industrial look to it all.
I really like the style of them. I thought the first ones, they were very dark, and I love the fact that it was all set in the Pacific Northwest. And much like this one, you enter the movie in a familiar place, And then you go down, kind of like Alice in Wonderland, you go down a rabbit hole and you just peel away the different layers until you get to this really creepy, scary part of your mind and your soul and your psyche.
Quiet, please.
I became involved in this project from the very first Ring movie. I did The Ring 2, and then this one came up, and they said, we want to get as many of the old family back together as we can. And so here we are.
Who knew back then when I was a kid watching that I would wind up here as Samara? For the second one, I got called in for the Wells sequence. Production wanted to up the bar for the Samara walk, that iconic when she exits the TV, and they said, what's the next step for that? Well, for them, the next logical step was CGI. That was the plan. They had budgeted it, they were ready for it, but the director, Hideo, wanted to do it practical. He said that he didn't want CGI. And the stunt coordinator, Keith Campbell, is a longtime friend. He called me up and says, Bonnie, I need you to try something for me. So when I came in and started dislocating and the leg came out and everything started tweaking, they went, this could work.
Now the things that they're doing with Samara are so creepy. And so for me, it's just giving them what we had in the old movies and then letting them take it over to a whole new scary, scary place with their digital world as well.
We tried to very carefully stay true to the myth of Samara and what works and what doesn't work as far as what you're allowed to do. You know, when you see her, do you die right away? Or the whole myth of how she kills people and the 7 days and all the mythology that's built into the Rings franchise. We tried to keep true to that, but at the same time, introduce Julia, our main character, to being somewhat above it all. And she is trying to find out where she fits into that chain of mythology. How is she different than everybody else that's exposed to Samara?
There's writing.
Our director is Javier Gutierrez, and he is as much a fan as the rest of us are.
Javier, he's awesome. He's a proper artist, so he's really very visual in the way that he sees the movie. It's great to kind of try and get into his mind and see how he's seeing things, so that when he's directing you, you're seeing the same thing. He's a massive, massive Rings 1 fan, so we'll be taking it back to where the Rings 1 was. The movie will have a very freaky feel to it, for sure.
It's shot beautifully. I mean, everything looks great. He's a true artist.
Action! Calm down.
I think with him being from Spain, you just get a different sense and he sees the world with different eyes. I think he, brings a new vision of the world of the Rings. I think with this being the third installment.
Okay, cut.
Javier is Spanish and I'm Italian, so despite the language, we kind of found our own little secret language, I guess. I've learned so much on this set from actors and from Javier because I think emotions, and I've been learning how to use technical stuff as well, and Javier's been helping me a lot with that. That girl. It's a wonderful place to work. Everybody here has been really great, and it's not as horrifying as the actual movie will be, so that's good.
There couldn't be an easier person to work for. I mean, he's just wonderful. He likes the process. For me, I don't need the stunts to be big stunty. I want them to really be an integral part of the story and make sense to the story. So Javier, he's all about that as well.
See, Mark?
Our two heroes are driving. It's pouring rain. She's starting to hallucinate. And a bird hits the windshield of their car. And she screams bloody murder, and which causes her boyfriend to slam on the brakes and skid to a stop. Then it got more interesting where she goes back to where they hit the bird on foot. She runs back there and walks right out into the street, and she's just thinking about this bird and not about possibilities of oncoming traffic. Lo and behold, a big truck is barreling down the road. To make that look super scary just took a lot of coordination. A lot of good people really focused on doing their job. It turned out really well.
The wonderful thing about Gabriel is that he truly believes that this work is for the greater good of all. He's creating this community to have a deeper understanding of life and death.
The idea behind Sevens is that it was an old, abandoned science building that Gabriel takes over and has the keys to. He takes over a whole floor to run his private little thesis experiments. We shot at an old, actually it belonged to Emory University, and so we took over one of the mental wards of the hospital and turned that into the Sevens lab for Gabriel.
Fans love these movies because they're scary, but in a very specific way. This will maybe make people a little bit scared when a pop-up comes on their computer, whether they play it or not.
I feel like it kind of is like a reboot to the same theme, but kind of in an updated way.
She has full access to you at all times, and that's scary.
There's still a few out there that maybe watch a tape or find an old VCR and, you know, are too curious.
The Ring movies are infectious, and once they're in, you can't get them out.